Welcome to EPG Pathsala. I am Jitu Mishra from Virasat-e-Hind Foundation, Ahmedabad. For the next 30 minutes, I am going to discuss with you about the art and architecture of Nizam Shahi Sultanate in Deccan, which ruled from the city of modern-day Ahmednagar in the region of Deccan in Maharashtra. Before we start the dynasty, Nizam Shahi dynasty, it is important to know that when in 13th century Muhammad bin Tughlaq shifted his capital to Dolatabad, it was a major center of Hindu kingdoms. Like for example, Yadavas were the major ruling dynasty in the region of Dolatabad, which was actually called Devgiri. Later it became Dolatabad during the time of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He named it to Dolatabad and the city of wealth. So once it became a major center of once Dolatabad was turned into as a Islamic capital, soon Deccan became a major center of Islamic culture and scholarship. A lot of Sufi saints, merchants, calligraphers, they came from North India as well as from Central Asia and Persia. So they brought in a range of ideas which for the first time intermingled with the local Deccani culture, and a composite culture which we today identify as Deccani culture evolved in the process in the due time. So Bahmanis after it became the capital of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, but it didn't continue for a long time because he had to shift to Delhi again, and by keeping appointing a governor. But at the same time, Bahmanis who actually made a revolt against the Tughlaq in Dolatabad, they established a new kingdom initially at Dolatabad, and then later they shifted the capital to Gulbarga and finally to Bidar. So with the establishment of Bahmani, the first building which is called Chand Minar is a tall minaret, and it is second after the famous Qutub Minar in Delhi, which was erected by the Bahmanis as a sign of victory. And then it became a major center. But towards the end of 15th century and early 16th century, it was fragmented into Bahmani empire was fragmented into five major kingdoms, kingdoms, but three being the major kingdoms, such as Adil Shahis of Bijapur, Qutub Shahis of Golconda, and Nizam Shahis of Ahmednagar. So the Nizam Shahis among these three was another important dynasty which ruled between 15th and 17th centuries. So the capital was initially at Junnar in Deccan, but it was shifted to Ahmednagar immediately after Ahmad Nizam Shah established himself as the founder of the dynasty. And during their rule, there were other forts as well, like Purandare and Dolatabad itself. So they also became major centers of architectural activities. And you may not see a large number of monuments as you see in case of Golconda or in Bijapur in Ahmednagar, but what we see that this region witnessed a series of architectural innovations starting from the time of Bahmanis. Even before that, it was Hindu kingdoms like Adabas, then Bahmani, and then Nizam Shahis, and after that the Mughals. So you have a large number of monuments representing different ideas, different faiths, different developments within this small region of Ahmednagar, Dolatabad, and Aurangabad. So this was a major center of architectural innovations in the past. So we will be learning a lot about these in the succeeding in the succeeding time. So when we talk about the birth of the Nizam Shahi dynasty, we must refer to the opening of the 16th century CE, which witnessed the fragmentation of the Bahmani kingdom into 5 smaller sultanates. uh, and each governed by an independent kingdom. Out of these five, the three were most important, as we discussed just now. They were the Nizam Shahis of Ahmednagar, the Qutub Shahis of Golconda, and the Adil Shahis of Bijapur. So when we talk about how Nizam Shahis came into power, so the origin is like, it starts at the time of Mahmud Gawan, who was the main person behind. He was the commander and the main person behind the success of Bahmani Empire into a full-fledged large empire in the country. So the origin of Nizam Shahi rule can be traced to the time of Malik Hasan Bahari, who was actually Hindu, converted into Islam, and he was also holding a very senior position at the Bahmani court in Bidar. He had recognition because he was a warrior on behalf of Muhammad Gawan. He fought a number of wars, but he had a dream to establish his own kingdom, but it was never fulfilled because Mahmud Gawan lost his life. He died, and he was also murdered himself in 1486 CE. So his dream of establishing a sultanate of his own was never fulfilled. But when it comes to his son, Hassan's son, his name was Malik Ahmad. He fulfilled his father's dream. He founded the new capital on the bank of River Sina, that is in it's at present day Ahmednagar, and he also not only established a new city, but also he strengthened the existing fort at Dolatabad. So he was actually the founder of Nizam Shahi dynasty, and then a number of other sultans who followed Malik Ahmad, they actually made a lot of contributions in the field of art and architecture, and also in miniature paintings. After Ahmad Shah, the second king was Burhan I, who was the next ruler, and he ruled for a very long period. And during his rule, Shia Islam was adopted as the state religion, and because Shia was adopted and it was a major religion in Persia, that is Iran, so the court of Ahmednagar and the courts of Persia, they were brought together through close contacts. So there was always exchange of ideas, whether it was in the field of art or in architecture or in literature or in any subject, any creative subject. So there was a lot of cultural exchange program between these two regions. So and because of that, what happened, we see a large number of a lot of influence of Persia over in the monuments of Ahmednagar. So Burhan was also though he ruled for 43 years, it was not peaceful as it should have been. He had to constantly engage himself, fighting, in wars against the Bijapur dynasty, that is the Adil Shahi dynasty, and for which he had to always seek help from both Vijayanagar rulers as well as Golconda rulers. So there was always ties with between Burhan and the rulers of Vijayanagar and Golconda to fight against the Bijapur kings. So his rule was not peaceful. Burhan's son Hussein was the most illustrious sultan of the entire dynasty, and because of his ties with the Portuguese, there was peace prevailed in his kingdom, and he was also credited for building the circular fort in Ahmednagar, which is called Ahmednagar Fort today. It is also one of the unique forts which we will be learning in detail about it in after some time. And another important event which had happened during the rule of Hussein was in 1564 CE. Hussein had led the combined forces of Bijapur, Golconda, and Bidar to counter the threat from Vijayanagar. So Ramaraya died in the battle of in the battle of Talikota, which was fought against the Vijayanagar, and that brought down the end of the Bijanagar, the most powerful Hindu dynasty in India. But the defeat of Rama Raya was decisive, but there was not much gain for Hussein personally, because he died shortly after the battle. Hussein was succeeded by his son Murtaza I. Now, whatever the alliance which had been established between Ahmednagar dynasty and Golconda and Barisai dynasty and Bijapur dynasty, that is Adilsai dynasty, it was now broken. It was no more there. So in 1574, because there was always conflict between these dynasty, so there has to be new political ties for Murtaza I to establish, to strengthen his power and authority. So in 1574, Berar, which was one of the five kingdoms which had been carved out after the Bahmanis empire decline, was brought under the control of Ahmednagar dynasty. And during Murtaza's rule, art and architecture reached to a hallmark that can be exemplified when we look at the beautiful Farah Bagh, a pleasure garden in his capital at Ahmednagar. So, with the invasion of the Adil Sahis in 1595 CE, the subsequent demise of Ibrahim's state affairs were taken over by Ibrahim's sister Chand Bibi. So Chand Bibi was now the most illustrious woman ruler in the history of Deccan, and she was a warrior, and she proved to be an able ruler also, but could not prevent Berar from Mughals in 1596 CE. Then Ahmednagar was subjugated to Mughal Empire in 1600 by Akbar's commander Abul Fazal, who had also murdered Chand Bibi. Now, in the history of Deccani Nizam Shahi architecture, Nizam Shahi period, Sultanate, there was a rise of a Habasi slave called Malik Ambar, and who became extremely powerful. He emerged as the most powerful figure in the Nizam Shahi court at the turn of 17th century CE. So, because of his war tactics, guerrilla warfare and all, he was able to throw out the Mughals from Ahmednagar and crown Murtaza II as the next Sultan. He had led expeditions against Bijapur and Golconda, and even managed to withstand the attacks of Khane Khan, the commander of Mughal forces under Jahangir. After installing Burhan III on the throne, Malik Ambar resumed his offensive against Bijapur and Golconda, but had only limited success with the Mughals. After the death of Malik Ambar, in the subsequent years, the Mughals had again started invading the Ahmednagar court and Dolatabad fort, and that time they could not resist the Nizam Shahi rulers could not resist the Mughal attack. So in 1636, Murtaza III, he was the last Nizam Shahi ruler. He was taken as a prisoner, and shortly after this, the Nizam Shahi rule ended, and then the entire activity was, the whole of Nizam Shahi was taken over by the Mughals. So it became part of the Mughal Empire. Now, with these introductions to the historical aspect of Nizam Shahis, we will now look at the architecture of forts and palaces which were built during the time of Nizam Shahis. So when we talk about the fort and palaces of Nizam Shahis, the first thing that comes to our attention is the Ahmednagar fort. Earlier, at the time of Ahmad Shah, it was a mud fort, but later, at the time of Hussein, it was built as a large circular fort. The Ahmednagar fort is actually circular in plan, with about 180 meter in diameter and 20-meter high. It has two regularly placed round bastions. It is surrounded by a moat of 10-meter width that encircles the moat all around. Inside the fort, if you compare it with Bijapur, Golconda, or the Bahmani capital at Gulbarga, and as well as in Bidar, there are large number of monuments, palacial structures and monuments. But here you will find only one monument, that is the tomb of Ahmad Shah, the founder of the Nizam Shahi dynasty. That is the only surviving structure, and it has a reception hall and roof with a sequence of domes. Besides Ahmednagar Fort, there was Purandare Fort, which was yet another major fort where the Nizam Sahis had a considerable contributions. They had control over it. It located near Pune in Maharashtra. Um the fort of Purandara has two distinct levels. Its lower part is called Machi and the upper part is called Balikila. So a major architectural remains in the upper part is Delhi Darwaza. The fort was also elaborated and new additions were made during the time of Maratha rule and even during the time of British rule. There was another fort which was also one of the capitals of Berar. It's called Gwalighor Fort, which is located in the Satpura range and now under the Melghat Tiger Sanctuary in northern part of Maharashtra, which is also identified as the region of Khandes. So it's very close to the Chikladhara hill station, only 2.5 kilometers from this. So this Gavli Gard fort took its name of a person. He was actually a shepherd. His name was Gavli. Centuries ago, that is what the local myth says. But it was initiated a large. It was actually fortified during the rule of the Berar dynasty and later by the Ahmednagar dynasty. So it was repaired and extended by Fatehullah Imadul Mulk, the founder of Imad Sai in Berar, and it was also occupied by Imad Sai in 1488 CE and Nizam Sai in 1574 CE. So the fort has got main gateways, the Dalip Darwaza, two main gateways. One is called the Delhi Darwaza between the inner and the outer fort, and the Fateh Darwaza, the southwestern gate, built by Fatehullah Imadul Mulk. So there are two major gates. Now, when we talk about the fort architectures, the most important one after Ahmednagar is Daulatabad, and Daulatabad, where in Daulatabad is actually the fort which divides north and south. It was a major important fort going back to the time of Yadavas when it was called Devagiri because it was believed that Lord Shiva resided there, so it was called Devagiri. It had tremendous wealth, and because of its wealth, it had attracted the rulers from north, the Sultanate rulers from north, including Khilji, Alauddin Khilji, and then later Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So there was several contributions made by Malik Ambar in when he was in power during the later Nizam Sai rules. There is one part of the fort which is called Ambar Court, which is actually the exteriormost and wall of the surrounding Daulatabad fort. It is called Ambar Fort. It is believed that Malik Ambar constructed it to protect from the onslaught of Mughals. The fortification wall, which encloses an irregular oval area, is about 14 kilometers, and the outermost wall of the fort consists of 45 bastions and 9 principal gates with flanking bastions and towers. Now, this was what these were the forts of Nizam Sahis, though they had constructed their own fort at Ahmednagar, but they also contributed significantly in other forts which we saw in Purandar and Kavalika, and then also in the fort of Daulatabad. Now, Farabagh in Ahmednagar it was the pleasure garden which was built in the model of a Persian palace, but its grandeur and size was much more to do with the Persian monuments. So uh, it is located in the middle of a large pool. It is of two-storied, which can be and it can be approached from the north by a causeway which is of 72 meters long, uh, and it is octagonal in plan and almost 40-meter in cross. There are facades on four sides which display double height arched portals flanked by tiers and small arched recesses repeated on the angled corner faces. There was another bagh or the garden which is called Hayat Behist Bagh, where you have a two-storied octagonal pavilion standing in a similar shaped pond. It was a pleasure resort for the Nizam Sahis. You have also a hammam attached to the building, where both hot and cold water was could be used using cisterns, and it was a pleasure bath. So then you have underground water palace besides that, with has a wind tower, and that is the only example from Deccan. This is again influenced by the Iranian architecture, like a chimney like tower with angled vents at the top. The vents allowed breeze to flow and cool down the palace, which was subterranean, which had subterranean dome chamber arranged around a rectangular pond. Aurangabad, the city which was established by Malik Ambar in 1610 CE, it was earlier known as Kirki. Later, it came to be known as Aurangabad after the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. So you have one of the best examples of water management in the whole of India when it comes to Aurangabad, or earlier it was known as Kirki. So water was transported to the city from different springs and wells, because the landscape of Aurangabad is such that it is located in the Sahyadri mountain range. So there are number of hills where you have perennial streams. So this spring and were used. The water from the springs were trapped and transported through a range of aqueducts and wells by a extensive network of aqueducts, channels, and pipes. And then you have these channels sometimes are even more than 5 km long, and they are partly cut into the rock and roofed with masonry. So this was an idea which had been imported from Iran to Deccan. There is Panchaki, which is actually a water mill that stands beside the river Khem, has a tower of this type. So water falling from the elevated system drives the large wheel for grinding grain. So when it comes to water management, Deccan had played a very important role. We had seen at Bidar, Bijapur, and Golconda that how water was managed, because the whole of Deccan is a semi-arid regions with a scarcity of water. And the advantage of Deccan is that there are large number of streams, perennial streams, which are found in the surrounding mountains or hills, and from where water had to be brought to the capitals. So the Iranian principle of using water, which is also called carriage system, so was employed successfully in these cities of Deccan Sultanates. And Aurangabad was also not an exception, because Aurangabad's location is again in a region where you have hills surrounding the capital. So the water had to be imported from these hills, and the best way was to lay a extensive aqueduct systems and pipes, which and also sometimes underground, that is called carriage systems. So we have a large number of such things in Aurangabad along with other cities. So that is how it has got some of the best examples of water management. So today, when the country is reeling through severe drought, the region of, especially the region of Marathwada and Maharashtra in the Sahyadri region is reeling through severe drought, there is a scarcity of water. So it is important to see that how successfully they were managing water resources. So maybe that can be used in today's context to meet the need of the water for the local communities. Now, with this, I have finished now the fort and palaces, and also along with that how water was successfully managed in the Nizam Sai period, both in his capital at Ahmednagar as well as also in Aurangabad. Now it is the time to see their achievement in building tombs. So unlike Bidar or Bijapur or Golconda, where you have tombs, large royal tombs, you would not see much tombs in of Nizam Shahi rulers, because they were Shia Muslims, and it was part of their belief that they had to be buried at Karbala, in the place where Hussein had fought the war against his enemies, and that is how he was martyred. So, in most of their bones after the death, the death of the sultans were transported to Karavala for where they were buried. But there is an exception. The founder of the dynasty, Ahmad Bari Nizam Shahi, he had built his tomb in 1509 C, which is located inside Ahmednagar, and that is the centerpiece of Bagh Roja. So this tomb has arched opening flanked by similarly shaped recesses on each side, and the facade is ornamented with carved panels of different designs, and its interior is also lavishly decorated with a line of plaster arches. When we talk about mosques, there are a number of mosques, but the best preserved in Ahmednagar is Damri Mosque, which was built in 1568 CE. It is located at a distance of 500 meters northeast of the Great Circular Fort in Ahmednagar. Though it is very small in size compared to what other mosques we have in India, but it is a finely finished one, epitomizing the carved intricacy of the Nizam Shahi style. Chini Mahal inside Dolatabad Fort is another important building, which was uh, which was built during the rule of the Nizam Shahis. So, Dolatabad had served as the government seat of Nizam Shahi after Ahmednagar was temporarily lost to the Mughals in 1601 CE. So, there are several structures built inside, but the most important was the Chini Mahal. It is called because of its beautiful blue tiles, blue and white tiles, which are set into the facade of the buildings. And so, that is the only place where you have among the monuments of among the survived monuments of Nizam size having blue tiles. Now, when we talk about the tombs, the most impressive tomb is actually of Malik Ambar, which is located in Khultabad, to the north of Dolatabad. Malik Ambar's tomb is the most impressive tomb, which is located in Khultabad. It was built in 1626 CE. So, this building, which stands alone, has got three crispy worked recesses with lobed arches are set into each side of the building. In the middle recess, you have beautiful jali screens displaying varied and finely cut geometric patterns. Screens also flank the doorway on the southern side, and immediately outside the walls of the complex stand the tomb of Malik Ambar's wife, also with stone screens, and there is also a mosque attached to it. A few meters southwest of these monuments is a small and highly small but highly individual tomb, now ruined, which is actually of Malik Ambar's grandson. It consists again of an octagonal dome chamber on a square plinth with octagonal pillars standing freely at the corners. You also see remnants of jali work in this monument. Now, Nizam size, as we discussed before, in the early 17th century, they fell to the Mughals, and the whole of Ahmednagar and Daulatabad and Aurangabad was became part of the Mughal rule. It was part of Mughal Empire. So that was in 1636 when Murtaza III, the last Nizam Shahi ruler, was taken as a prisoner, and after this, the Sultan Nizam Shahi Sultanate was absorbed into the Mughal Empire. After Daulatabad became a stronghold bastion of Mughal Empire, both the fort and nearby Aurangabad became well-established center of Mughal architectures, and the most impressive is the Bibi Ka Maqbara, which is located in Aurangabad. So it was commissioned by Aurangzeb's son Ajam in the memory of his mother Dilras Banu Begum. Because of its strong resemblance with the Taj Mahal in Agra, it is also called as Dakhani Taj, the Taj of Deccan. The mausoleum is laid out in a charbagh formal garden, as you see also in other Mughal monuments. Mughal tombs. It stands at the center of a huge enclosure. You have pillared pavilions are located at the center of north, east and western part of the enclosure wall. The mausoleum is built on a high square platform with 4 minarets at its corners. It's approached by a flight of steps from 3 sides. It is made out of marble like the one you have in Taj. Now with this we are concluding the contributions made by art and architecture by the Nizam Shahis. So they had made contributions to both art and architecture of Deccan and held promises of the flowering of an entirely new culture. And some of their paintings, the murals, are world class, which have no parallel with Mughal. They appear to be fantasy type as compared to the Mughal paintings where the logic was more preferred, given more importance. So on but after their fall, the region did not discontinue. So it continued to flourish under the patronage of the Mughals. As we saw in Aurangabad, there are number of Mughal buildings. The most famous, as we discussed just now, is the Taj of Deccan, that is the Bibika Maqbara. So there was a continuity of architecture traditions, and together in this small region, you have art and architecture starting from the time of Yadavas till the Mughals, which including the Nizam Shahis, you have some of the finest specimens of art and architectures in these regions. So for more information on this, you may have to refer to the exhaustive note which has been developed for you, and along with that there are also references given, so that will help you to understand the contribution made by Nizam Shahi art and architectures much more elaborately. Thank you for being patient.